Go live.
They say David?
Should now.
Yeah, I see it. Thanks God for God.
Tech support.
Tech support.
Look at that.
Just like that. Tech support.
You want to watch it on here?
If you want to watch. Huh?
I'm going to start in a few seconds over here. We're live on Facebook. Thanks everybody for joining our mastermind today. It's going to be a fun hour ahead with David Abbas, Jason DuFault, Yana Galuz. Yana's going to be like just a little bit. Going to join us. Sit tight.
Should I put on my mask?
Start in a bit. Putting the masks on, David? Okay, let's do it. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Work your sphere. Okay. David, Jason, ready to have some fun?
Yep.
Yes.
Fun.
Let's do it. We'll come back to the music afterwards, no worries. And once again, we're going to have Yana join us in a bit. She's in a photo shoot of a new listing, so hopefully she can also pitch that. And so, hey guys, how's it going? Good afternoon.
Good
afternoon.
Good to have you. And thanks everybody who joined. We have a nice crowd joining and more showing up. All right, great. So work your sphere. And I reached out to you guys and asked to participate, and thank you for making yourself available, because you are definitely, first of all, you have a great business overall, and we'll hear more from you guys about numbers, etc. Of like how many of that is not in the sense of production by any means, but sphere-wise. And I think the conversation will be around whatever you guys feel like sharing. Sphere, like what does it mean to you? Work your sphere. How did you build a sphere, etc. I'm gonna ask more questions as we go. So whoever wanna start, just first of all, your background, sign. David, I don't feel like to share your sign, right?
Gemini.
Go for it.
Simply background. First, I'm with Keller in Calabasas, obviously, and been in the business for 10, 11 or so years. Licensed since '04, but in it really since like '08, '09. And yeah, I work my sphere, and that happened by accident. When I started in the beginning, I followed all the steps and I tried everything, and I tried door knocking and I tried cold calling, and I was horrible at all these things. And then little by little, I just started noticing that my business was coming from one source and one source alone. And fast forward now, not to make it a drawn out 11-year story, I'm 99 percentile of just sphere related deals, and it works for me.
It's pretty incredible. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for the quick teaser opening. I'm going to ask you a lot more questions, David.
Sure.
Jason, quick background.
I guess I have to just tell my sign, David. I'm a Virgo. I don't even know, and I don't even know what that means. I just know it's a word people use to define me. So, David and I have a lot in common. I was door knocking and stuff like that was not my thing. I've been in the business licensed since '06, and I was doing mortgages before that. So my sphere, I realized quickly, wasn't producing enough sales, but all of it was coming from them. I had to increase my sphere. I had to choose a sphere of people to get involved with that I could help. And then obviously in turn, get referrals from them. But it was kind of the same process. I just realized that the sphere that I was using wasn't as powerful for an income generation perspective, and I had to change that. And but in the same way, because I'm just naturally that way, that's how I get business, from the sphere of people that I involve myself with. So that's kind of the short and pretty of it.
Awesome. Yeah. When did you guys realize that your sphere is your business? Because most agents, when they start their career, it's kind of like, oh my God, like what direction should I take, right? You mentioned like door knocking or cold calling or what have you. And some people that still in the business for quite some time don't really have a niche. They just it comes to them from various ways. So when did you figure out, you know what, my sphere is my business, and I should focus more on that?
Well, somebody early on told me in the beginning that if you base your business off referrals, it's not a successful business model, and that worried me. I was under the impression that this will run its course, was the impression I got, and then I got to think of plan B. I realized that I was a sphere guy by hearing where everybody else got their business from. So when I was around people and they said, "Oh, I just closed a deal. I met him from an open house. Oh, I just I cold called, I door knocked, my flyers." When I started noticing everybody was getting business that way, is when I realized, oh, okay, David, hold on, you're only getting it from this source. So that's when I really put it together that, okay, maybe I should just focus on my sphere and exhaust it, and go deeper into it. And I think Jason and I probably have a lot in common with respect to, well, how do you even get more out of it? How do you go into deeper layers of it, like a 7-layer, dip? Like, how do you keep going more and more and extracting more referrals from them? So very early on, it was a sphere-based calling that I had for me, and like kind of like what Jason said. I mean, my sphere is it's all over the place. So I wouldn't really ever use high end as an example. I would just say all up and down, like the mid range to a little bit over range. But I don't have like high end clientele. But everybody knows somebody, and I treat everybody the same. So that's a lot of the reason why I get referred to clients.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I have follow-up questions, but I want to hear Jason first. Jason, same question. Like, when did you figure out my sphere is my business?
Well, I remember sitting at a coffee shop, Starbucks in Huntington Beach, and I met with a team leader from KW before I knew what KW was. And I was really interested because I couldn't get my business off the ground. And so he sat down and he busted out the numbers on database. And if you have this many people in your database, you'll get this many leads from the people that you stay in contact with. The basic model, right? And the millionaire real estate agent. And I realized at that time, my business was terrible because I only had 300 people in my database. And so at that moment, I knew that I had to increase my sphere of people. And I needed, in that moment right there, I'm like, boom, I'm in it. This is the model. This is the help I've been looking for. This is another piece of the puzzle that I need to be successful. And that was the moment. It was awesome. And I didn't even know what KW was. I was like, oh boy, here we go. But I was like, I can live with that. And it's got numbers to it. It's got real traction, and it gives me a to-do list, and I can get after it. And I just increased at that moment. That's when I decided to do it. It was like 2009.
Great story. Yeah. So when so back to the first half of the question. So you understood, David, okay, my sphere is my business, right? And I'm not sure what was, your focus was on prior to that. Maybe it came really early on, etc. But how did you adjust to, okay, I'm going to work my sphere? Or you know what? First question before that is, can you define what sphere means to you, because maybe sphere means something different to other people. So when you say sphere, what does it mean?
Well, you're right. It could mean different definitions, but for me, it just means the people that the people that already know me, like me, and trust me, and then then it's my job to also get to know who they also know and like and trust, and usually they refer me, their loved ones and colleagues and their bosses and their brothers-in-laws and mothers-in-laws and all that. So for me, it's just somebody that I already have a relationship with to a certain extent. It doesn't even have to be like my best friends. But it is somebody that it's a warm call. If it's a warm reach out via them reaching to me or me reaching to them, because we know of each other at the minimum, if not more, if not a lot more. So that's my definition of it, and that's what I mean when I say sphere.
Awesome, yeah. Jason, same question. Your sphere is who? How do you?
Same answer. Same answer as David.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you start to go about working your sphere? Did you have a plan? Did you wing it? Did you follow some kind of a model? What's the story behind that? Like, right now.
Jason wants to go first. I can tell.
No. Let's just follow an order. You go first every time, David.
There is no order. A lot of this business is winging it. I just started noticing, that people were noticing. So like friends of mine or my sphere were noticing, well, why is David talking about real estate, or why you dressed up, at a picnic, or why are you late? Why do you have business cards all? It just started like organically happening, and it was effortless. It wasn't that I was overselling it. I just knew that this was my calling in this industry, and I wasn't going anywhere. So if they weren't ready today, they would be ready at some point, and I'd be there waiting for them. So for me, it's not a pressure or I'm not pushy. I'm almost too not pushy. There's a better way of saying what I just said. And I already forgot your question. What was the question? Did I answer the question?
You're going with it, yeah. Like how did you go about start to work your sphere? What was your system?
It was just I remember sending out some emails and a few people responding, and then I just realized after like one or two. All my deals have been related through my sphere. So once one or two of them clicked, I said, "Oh my God, this is my database. I'm from here." So not that you have to be from here, but I have relationships already made. I'll say it that way.
Right.
So for me, I just said, why should I go meet new friends when I got all these guys that already like me and trust me? Let me go. That's a faster step A to B than getting to know somebody and the whole pitch. And I'm not into that anymore. I never was. It wasn't my thing. So I just really went after the people that I knew, and then it just the more I got from them, the more I realized that's where I need to be focusing on, and until I came to the point where I said, okay, that's all I'm going to focus on, and I think that's not even a good thing to say too, because you should still do other stuff, other marketing, and I have a geographic farm that bears no fruit, but I write checks every month for it, but all my business comes from my sphere.
Right. Yeah. And even your some of your referrals to for people that they're not your sphere necessarily, you had a couple of great listings, so you will work with whoever you choose to work with, but it can be someone that you don't know, but it will come from your sphere as a referral.
It really is. It's really they're my cheerleaders. So they don't know it, but we all have, I'm sure Jason too, everybody, we have certain clients that continuously will give us business from one route or another. And my job is to nurture everybody, my clients, and I have specific cheerleaders that are dear to me that they shove business towards my direction, I'm exaggerating that, but I know I'm their guy, and it's nice to go up against somebody, like if I meet somebody for the first time and I'm referred to them, I already have a little bit more leverage just with that statement than them bringing, somebody that they don't know also to interview for whatever the position is. So it's a combination of a lot, but I'll let Jason put in his 2 cents about that. That's kind of how I feel and see it. right now.
So Jason, and you cannot say what David said. So,
That's such a good job, though. I mean,
I know, right?
I actually want to do business with them today.
Well,
Let's drop the call and go on an appointment and get an escrow together. Here we go.
Yep, let's go.
He's part of the sphere now. So, but same question, like when you realized, my sphere is my business. Did you follow some kind of a model, or you just came up with whatever shape and form of like, I'm gonna figure it out?
Well, up until that like aha moment I had been winging it. I mean, and my sphere of close friends and family never had enough money, so I had to expand my sphere to people that I already knew but didn't spend as much time with. And I started to nurture that through phone calls and having a beer or a coffee with somebody, and which I was already doing with people, but I was more mindful of why I was doing it, and I was upfront about it. And it was just kind of natural. I was, hanging out, having a cold frosty or a coffee and talking a little bit about what they're doing, get back in touch. It was just kind of a natural way. And I tried open houses. I mean, I tell you right now, I've had one lead from an open house my entire career. Now, mind you, I might really suck at it, which is fine. But I've had that client, and he's bought 6 properties from me, right? So it was a great opportunity, but he's someone who trusts me now. And I just wasn't any good at it. Door knocking, I mean, that was like cold calling, and it was worse. It was in person. So the rejection was not my idea of fun. And, I'm 6'2", I'm 285 pounds. I mean, I look like a sheriff's deputy coming to the door, so that one thing was really effective, So I think I started working the sphere more professionally and having more conversations, reaching out to people, putting people together, putting the plumber together with the electrician, or the insurance guy together with some people to create some referrals on a professional level. And I really like the business-to-business referrals. Those work well for me. That's kind of what I did. And I just knew that number had to increase. And I had to get as a goal number of people that I was touching on a regular basis through calls, and then, obviously through a database of people. But I've never really considered my sphere a database. I've always considered it really people that I know. I mean, I really do. And it's a smaller group. I mean, I would say that the group of people that I get referrals from is about 450 people that I contact and that come in and out of that group all the time, where I get 80% of my referrals. And I consider those people my sphere of friends and professional relationships. I mean, I like that approach. That's kind of how I did it, or doing it. It's constant. It's constant. But before that, I was just totally winging it and trying everything I could. The menu of choices was so great, and I was failing at all of them.
And like we say, failing forward. You have to go through the process, through the journey, to try to see what works best for you. And then it's not, about you not good at something different, or maybe this thing doesn't work. It just didn't work for you. So you found something that works for you, and now you master it, right? And thank you both for kind of, be open about it and sharing what it is. Because on a side note, I mean, the purpose of those masterminds is, we see each other in person, right? Small gatherings, just face to face, and we're having conversations. But this is pretty much to open up and share with others that going through the same journey, right? Or maybe it works for them or didn't work for them. So and once again, I just want to shout out to you guys for inspiring so many other people.
Well, I have something to say about that. When I went to so many different, not seminars, but to listen to people talk about their business. And the thing that really always upset me was that I was there listening to hopefully grab something of value to add to my business so I can make more money. And a lot of times, the fact that these guys and girls wouldn't share information really was disappointing, because I was really looking for some help. And I have to say that through the culture that we have here, being able to share like this, I hope it is valuable to somebody, because I wish I had somebody being this way with me when I was starting out, or even when I was, 5 years in and figuring out what who I was and what I was doing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So you mentioned kind of like your sphere. So David, what I'm not sure if you roughly what's the size of your sphere? And then a question to both of you: how do you manage the communication? You kind of like almost touched it, Jason. And that's like, it's kind of like a follow-up question. How do you follow up? How do you maintain that
Right.
day to day?
So first, I would say when we say sphere, it's all about relationships. That's really the main title head of this whole thing. It's you're nurturing relationships, and they come to you because of the relationship, and they really come to you if you're professional and the relationship. So if you can give them both, then you got a good recipe for success. I have half as much as Jason has with regards to database. I'm probably in the 200 range of addresses, emails, contacts. I mean, I'm sure I have, of people that are really like core sphere. I go to their kids' parties. I go to the good and the bad things that happen in people's lives. Like I'm that, like that's, I mean, I have a few thousand friends, but it's probably a couple hundred. And similar to what Jason said, although my numbers are smaller, like people are coming in and out. People, they come in and out. But even the ones that leave and they go out of state, for example, we need to still stay in touch with them because they still refer business to me. But my numbers are not, I don't have 450 if that's his realistic number. I'm probably in the 270 range. That's what I tell my coach. I hope my number's right when I tell him that. But that's the number I've been using, is about 270. And what I do with them, I mail to them monthly. I email to them every other week. I'm on social media a few times a week.
Yep.
And I try to give out pieces of information that are not just the standard stuff, but I've shown many, and I'll just share with you. You can visualize. I send out like a magazine or like a booklet with, people want to work with somebody that's doing well. So, I mean, of course, I mentioned that kind of stuff, but it's also my job to be in touch with them. If they don't hire me or go with someone else, when I was earlier in the career, I'd blame them. Now I blame me. So as long as I'm doing that and trying to be creative and not convincing, but just creative, it tends to, it's a numbers game. Yeah, it kind of works out. It works out enough for me to call myself a sphere agent, So those are my numbers, and that's what I send to them. I don't do as much calling as I should. I'm trying to do more video texting, just like one-sided. Hey, how are you? I just thought of you when I drove by your house. I was showing a house down the street from you. I don't even do that, but that's what I should be doing more of. But and then I see them if I see them at social events, this or that. So that's kind of my all in all of what I did.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks once again for sharing that. And I love the fact that you mentioned that it's not about blaming others. It's just taking responsibility.
You have
at the end
to.
of the day. And I do think, by the way, it is also a skill that you're mature into, about taking responsibility any stage in life, or different aspects of life too. So that's well said, just for everybody who's listening out there. Like, are you taking responsibility, or are you focusing on not that people are doing it on a regular basis, but or are you focusing on blaming what's others or what's not working, etc.
No,
right?
I mean, you have to be purposeful, and I think there is an art to it. And it's it's a skill. You're working on a skill. I'm working on my art. I'm working on my business. So it is a work. It's not I don't have a line of these deals just dying to have me sign an agreement with them. We do have to work them with the right distance, because it is a personal relationship too. So it's actually a double-edged sword. I think Jason might even agree with that. It's like, these are not people that you're gonna, if the deal goes good or bad, at least it's somebody I won't see again. Like, if I work in a market, they're in and out, it's gone. This is somebody that you carry a different kind of responsibility with them. So I try to be mindful of that as well.
Thanks, David. And Jason, before I ask you, I have Yana. Can you hear us?
I can, but I'm having issues with my video.
Okay. Well, at least we can hear you. That's a good start.
Guys.
Well, thanks for joining. And I know that you're in a photo shoot in a new listing, right? Do you want to pitch your listing while we have you?
Yeah, can you guys see me?
Not
Just your
yet.
initials.
Yeah, cannot see your camera yet, but we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, we just got a new listing in Hidden Hills.
Congrats.
4 bedroom, about close to 4,000 square feet. I'm gonna list it at 2.7. Nice size lot. So yeah, if you guys have
Congrats.
any buyers, bring our way.
Yeah, well, you're in good company, so they're gonna call you afterwards. So Yana, thanks for joining, and kind of to officially introduce you. Both you and your husband been in business for many years. You're a luxury agent. Alex is more on the commercial side, but both of you once again making this like pretty super power couple. And I reached out to you as well about joining David Abbas, Jason DuFault over here on the panel, talk about Sphere, because same thing with you. You have a unique way to work your sphere of business. If it's like you just mentioned, you got a new listing in your neighborhood, right?
Yes.
So share just in a nutshell about your background and how did you go about understanding that your sphere is your business?
Yeah, so basically I started in residential real estate around 2004 in the city, and then around 2008 during the crisis we moved out here, and I started sort of farming this area, and really initially leveraged my relationships to get listings, kind of relied on friends and family, and then in time with advertising and branding, sort of expanded that. And it's obviously it's a very competitive market here, but I've been fortunate enough to have some success. So
Yeah.
and I think people always think, oh, I'm going to get my real estate license and I'm just going to make tons of money, and it takes time. It's planting seeds, and over time they sort of grow. And have been in this area now for 10 years, a little over.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I really love what I do.
Yeah, and it shows. It's once again like mastering a skill. So the question we ask later, and Jason, feel free also to jump in. Then Yana can just get the idea. Same thing as David, right? When it comes to your sphere, how do you have a system? How do you work your sphere? And I don't know if you have reminders, you're using some kind of CRM, just out of a cycle of a memory, or like how
Yeah, no, I keep notes. I don't particularly, I mean, I use Constant Contact for, as soon as I meet a client, I put their information in, I do email blasts, but for the most part, I keep notes as to buyers and sellers. Yeah, I think beyond that, I probably could use some help in that area as well.
we all do. Thank you for sharing that. Jason, what is your system looks like?
Well, when I first started, it was just a box with note cards, and that's all I used. It was awesome. I mean, I really liked it, but I had to get something a little bit better than that years ago. So I've gone to a couple different ways to manage it. I use Referral Maker right now for a good source of just keeping people in a database, and I make all my notes digitally when I talk to people. So when I'm on the phone, I'm typing in notes with the conversation, so that when I pull up someone's information, I know we talked about last, and put them on a cycle of giving them a call. And then, I just try to keep it as simple as possible. I don't like to get too complicated, because then I'm asking of myself too much and become ineffective. And I like to be really effective on my time on the phone with people. And I try to just be myself, be honest and real, and, meet people. And sometimes, there's just managing it that way. If it gets too complicated, I'm out. Like, that's not my style. I like to just be in front of people, trying to fill that I'm adding value to a conversation every time I'm on the phone.
Makes sense. David, if you were to go back and rebuild your business around Sphere all over again, right, from scratch, would you do anything different today?
I just wish I would have started when I was 18. That's all.
Me too.
That's it. I mean, of course, we learn as we go along. I'm glad I got into this industry when I did. I didn't really spend much time trying other things. I realized it was fear related. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you, yes, I have an answer. There are relationships that I've let slip, and good ones. And if I were to go back in time, I would have tried to salvage those. And there's no reason why I can't still go after them, but I would say that's the one lesson is, and not that anybody really knows they're going to go into real estate and be a Sphere agent anyway, but that's one thing that I think I've left some really strong relationships on the shelf, and if you don't nurture them, you don't water them, then they dry up and they go, elsewhere. So could I get them back? Probably. Have I tested myself to do so? I should get the courage to do it and just see where it goes. But between that and being 18, I think that'd be an amazing recipe right there. But I'm grateful for what I have too now. So it is what it is.
You're very close. You're very close anyways. Thanks for opening up. Yeah. Yana, when you heard his statement, you said like, I wish I would too. So
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think as when you start out, there's definitely a huge learning curve when it comes to working with people and nurturing those relationships. And there's so many situations just looking back where, had it been 10 years later, I would have handled it so much differently. And I think that just comes with practice and experience, but I think that's the only way to learn is sometimes to lose something. But then again, it prepares you for the next deal and for the next step and the next. It's never over, so there's always opportunity. But I feel like sometimes certain relationships you just kind of let it go, and that's okay too. Your energy doesn't match. Like I used to have clients that were just very difficult. They would drain me, or something would happen where it was just 6 months of just ruin my life. And I don't have those clients anymore because I now can recognize that, hey, that I'm probably not the best agent for you. There's somebody else out there that matches your frequency better. And that's just knowing what I can handle and what I can't handle and where I'm willing to go with a relationship. But as far as what David has said, yeah, I think nurturing certain relationships and having the foresight to know that that's something to nurture because it could grow and it could be beneficial. But I think that just takes time and experience to recognize that. But it's a process.
Yeah, powerful statements right there, Yana. Thank you. That was beautiful. Once again, goes back to be in control of what you can be in control of, and take responsibility and understand what your superpower is or superpowers, and say I'm just going to focus on that. That's how I can really elevate myself and help other people, right? So once again, to whoever is watching, just focus on what you're really good at and do more of that versus trying to fight something that you're not, or try to be someone that you're not, and which is okay too. It's your journey, you own it. But the sooner you're gonna take responsibility, probably good things will happen.
And I think that, I don't know if David or Jason, they have partners or not. I think sometimes having a partner that has different strengths than you really helps balance the situation, because there's so many different personalities and so many different types of people in how they respond to different personalities. So I think that like for Alex and I, we just sort of recognize, okay, you're better to deal with this client because it's going to be smoother transaction, and you can relate to them better and they feel more comfortable with you. And I think that having that kind of partnership is really beneficial, at least in my experience. I've never not had a partner, so I don't know what that's like, but um, the successful agents that I see, I feel like the partnerships really sort of help in that sense, because you can really work with a more diverse clientele in terms of character.
Yeah, yeah. Jason, do you want to add anything to that?
I think the answer to your question, I would say I'm a big believer in the journey, and I wouldn't go back and change anything. But what I do like to add value to in teaching classes and helping people is that they don't have to go on the journey I was on to get here, because I don't wish that on anybody, right? I mean, I want to be able to give them maybe the leg up a little bit sooner than I got it in my journey, because that I think that adds value. But I don't ever look back and say that my experiences, I wish I'd done something different that way. I just look at it as I made that decision and I'm here because of it. So it had some value, and I want to teach people that they can do things differently and still get the same lessons, but you definitely not do it the way I did it, do it differently. And I'm always offering help to people in that way. So that's my retrospective push on, not going back, but pushing forward and offering value to other people.
Well said. So here's a question to all of you. The last 3 months been interesting months for everybody, right? Very unique, unusual. We're still in the evolution of like life after pandemic, right? Or during pandemic, I guess. How did you adjust work in your sphere with the relationship when between the reaching out and maintain the relationship to cannot meet face to face anymore, or hang out or go to the event or what have you, as you would typically do once again the last 3 months or so?
All right, David, you're first.
All right. Well, I'll be vulnerable and I'll tell you, it mentally messed with me, this whole lockdown. Many probably felt it from my house to yours. Like I didn't really absorb it very well, but let me focus on answering your question. So the first 45 days, end of March through April, I think were really, everybody kind of was scared, and we're all watching the news and all that. And I realized that I never was one to talk about real estate on the front of any of my conversations. It's actually a byproduct of a relationship that already exists. So what I was doing during that time was obviously managing the business I already had, and thank God I did, and I still had a good amount of closings during this time from openings that were before. But I was reaching out to clients and just checking in on them as how they are as a person, and not talk about real estate, because the truth is, it was tasteless to do that. It was not, in my opinion, for me and with my clients, it was inappropriate. And I realized, you know what, if you talk with somebody during the rough times, then I have their permission to call them when it passes. Instead of me calling them when it's already over and just staying quiet the whole time, and then saying, oh yeah, we all went through this together. It's actually shows, and not that I'm not pretending. I actually made these calls because I care. They weren't like tasks, but it shows just the relationship that I have with these people, because when you're with them during this rough experience that we all have gone through and still going through, I have the permission to talk to them when we're out of it as well, rather than ghosting them the whole time, then calling them, let's say this week, oh, how'd you guys do 3 months ago? It's different. It tastes different. And maybe or maybe not, but I'm also back kind of on track to where I was before and through this pandemic. And hopefully that stays too, assuming there's no new worldly matters. And maybe that has, or does, I just stayed in touch is my point. And it was difficult, and I'm still dealing with things calendar wise. Like I think all of us are, if you have younger children or whatever things have changed a little bit, but I stayed in touch. I didn't talk about real estate during that time, and I think my formula got me this far and is still working for me now.
Yeah. Thanks, David.
That's it.
Yeah. Always good stuff, and thanks for being vulnerable and
It
sharing.
was rough. It was hard for me. I mean, everything, like that upside down cake, just boom, like everything. Like there was nothing. I'm into my own habits and my own patterns of my day and my freedom. All of our freedom got taken away, so it was difficult. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. For me, it was difficult.
Yeah.
But I came out and I'm fine, and I'm in the office now, and I've been coming in as long as we were allowed to, and it's also our job to instill in our clients as a resource that where's the market, when's a good time to do this, when's a good time to do that, and I'm not saying just tell them what they want to hear, but whatever your definition is of what you want to tell them, like we are still that same resource. And even during this time, they would bring things up to me. What do you think's gonna happen in the market? That's a whole other conversation, but we came out of it, and there's light at the end of the tunnel, and every day is one day closer to that.
Yeah. Thank you, David. Yana, how did you handle that communication with your people, your sphere out there the last few months?
Yeah, I kind of echo what David is saying. Just keeping in touch with the clients, making sure that, if there's any questions or anything that I could help them with, and just kind of being there. Obviously, a lot of uncertainty in the market then during the time, and especially now going forward. But personally, I used it just to kind of restructure and rebrand and plan ahead. It was actually nice to have that downtime, at least for me, because it gave me an opportunity to springboard other things, and I appreciated it. And now I feel like full speed ahead. But I definitely feel that it gave me an opportunity to have those heart-to-heart personal conversations with clients that sometimes we're just running around and we don't have time to do. So that was nice, and we're never ready for those kind of moments. So you just do your best. And
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people will agree with you that more people had naturally more downtime, if you may, right? You drive less, you spend less time with just casual chatting with people in the office or outside the office or places or what have you. So what are you doing with this time, right? The exchange of this time, because all of us were given more time technically, right?
yeah, and that's so rare, right? We're always running around like chickens with our heads cut off, and it was actually, I felt that it was a nice break to reflect and take the time to restructure for me personally, for my business, and take the time to reach out and connect with people on a more personal level. So, I think that it's a choice how you use that time, because that all of that is outside of our control. So we can just choose what we do with it.
Yeah, well said. It's your choice what you want to do with your time, for sure. And the more people that I talk to in our industry that are doing really well and did as good, some of them even better during stay at home, it's because of, once again, the use of the time to the benefit of purposefully to communicate and talk and have those conversations with people outside, right? Jason, what about you?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think there was some really positive things that came of all this, along with all the stress and chaos, and watching, streets become kind of empty and slowed down, the noise of traffic. And there was a lot of good things that I saw happening. My backyard had more wildlife in my backyard than I've ever seen, and I think in talking to people that I reached out to immediately were those that I felt like were needed the most help. kind of prioritized. But what I thought was really fun is that they were all home. So when I did call, they answered the phone and they were eager to talk.
You're right.
And it was fun because I got to talk to people that I normally don't get a good conversation with. You know, some past clients, or I have a good client of mine that's always surfing around the world, and he goes home. And so I was talking about his latest trips, and so I enjoyed that. I enjoyed getting back to knowing people a little bit better, and my they were picking up the phone. People that I never ever get them pick up the phone. It's usually they call me back at 9 o'clock at night and say, I got your message or whatever. So I thought that was really great, and reconnecting, and then blending in the whole stress of having me home with my family, and people sharing in that same experience, and having my 11-year-old son walk behind me in the kitchen to get to the pantry to get something to eat as I was talking. I loved it. It's just this is what's happening in a really chaotic, scary time. So, I mean, I thought that some of the positive things were just reaching out and actually having conversations with people that were just natural, and some people didn't want to talk, and that's okay. But no, it just seemed like the right thing to do.
Yeah, well said. It's your perception about how to look at things, right? That will differentiate if it's good, if it's bad, if it works for you, it doesn't work for you, positive, negative. Once again, it all starts up here, anyways. If you were to talk to someone who's she's looking into transitioning from whatever her farming geographically or what have you to worker sphere, right? Or someone who's just got his license and start to build his career and he has a great sphere potentially. What would you tell them? Like how to go about the conversation or go about how to talk to their sphere to build that kind of business like you guys have?
I like this question, so I'm going to go first. Not that I haven't liked your other questions, by the way. So I'm real big on this, writing a statement about yourself and defining yourself. I think that's a real important message to someone who's doing that, to answer your question. You have to write a statement about who you are, and beyond real estate, real personal. Some people call it a mission statement. I call it a personal statement about yourself, so that you understand what choices you need to make to be successful that meet who you are. Because I think sometimes the sequence of what people try to do is they try to be someone else they're not, right? So if my definition of myself is this, and I am doing things that are not natural to me, it's not going to be a successful event. At least it's not as successful as it can be. So start out with a statement about yourself and let that direct the choices you make to build your business. So maybe you write a statement and you find out that you're really good at something else that you thought would be ineffective. And so you make that choice. So I think that's really important. And that's kind of how you find whether or not, are you a sphere-oriented person? Do you like the cold calling? I mean, you just put those things in your tool belt to make it more effective for you. So it's a natural transition into your business and not something that looks odd, or when you open your mouth, you sound strange because it's not something you would normally say. And getting to know yourself better allows you to be more successful with the choices you make for your business.
Love it. That's great. And also, like, if you know what kind of value you deliver, it will attract the right people and more people, because they'll understand that you're the confidence that you provide is part of your value proposition as well, of to know who you are and what you have.
Yeah, right. It's kind of like doing things in sequence first, so that if you do all the marketing first and none of it represents who you are, people will catch on to that and they won't believe you.
Yeah, awesome. Yana, what would you say to someone that looking to start engaging their sphere? Or
Yeah, I think learning for somebody that's new, just figuring out what your strengths are and really recognizing that early on and knowing where you're comfortable, where you're not. That's not to say that you can't get comfortable with something with experience. I think I was extremely uncomfortable in social settings and networking when I first started, just because I kind of keep to myself. And now that's second nature to me. And my challenge was, how do I go from being fake, what I considered to be fake, because it felt like it's not natural for me to be so social and talkative and interact with people, to being able to do that and doing it in an authentic way. And I feel that I've really grown a lot through this business in my ability to interact with people. So the business has taught me more about myself, I feel, than anything else that I've done. And I've learned to be able to connect with people in an authentic, that felt authentic to me, rather than push on something that was, foreign or didn't feel right. So I think it's just getting to know yourself, and then if you have certain weaknesses, that just, I feel that comes with practice, and you can work on those. And the more you do it, it's like repetition. The more you do it, the easier it gets. So time is definitely on your side. But yeah, and again, like what I said before, with different personalities, because we do deal with, it's a service business, and we do deal with so many different personalities. Knowing what your limit is, like what you can handle and what you can't handle, is really important too, because it saves you a lot of time and aggravation. So yeah.
Well said. Yeah. Thank you. David.
Okay, so if it's a new agent that is stuck on, pursuing their sphere, I would say actually to be careful, because I think that you might be better off perhaps linking up with somebody that works their sphere, that can help you save time and not lose clients by maybe joining with them, or running things by them as like, what do I write to my sphere? When should I write to my sphere? I mean, honestly, it's like you get licensed, and then the next day we're ready to start working, and then we're still unemployed. We're unemployed every day. Like you still need to build that experience. The same way when you go to a dentist, you want to go to a dentist that has done 1,000 fillings, not you're the first one. At least me. That's how I am. So the way to get around that is, if I'm new and I join Jason and Yana's team, and together they have 30 years of experience, there's just something, and I can learn from them that way. And then I can introduce my clients with this team umbrella. And not that I did this, I didn't do this. I'm just saying this might be another idea, where what to write to your sphere. It's a delicate subject, because if you send out 500 mailers the first day you're ready to start the business, it may not be the right thing to say. So I guess what I'm trying to say is run it by somebody that's doing what the three of us are doing before you do what you're about to do, because it's easy to burn a relationship, and it takes a lifetime to earn one. And I think everything they said is also accurate, what Yana and Jason are saying too. But I think I would ask a lot of questions before I start sending out stuff, and then hopefully we all made mistakes. I still make mistakes, but hopefully somebody can guide me in our obviously mentorship program, and through Keller you have that luxury where you don't, you can be protected as much as possible and ask questions and avoid sending something that might come off the wrong way.
And thank you for pointing this out, because I would ask you anyways about, Jason is a mentor, you're a mentor. Yana recently joined our culture. She'll make at one point, whenever she feel that you want to do it, incredible mentor. But you nail it, because everybody needs some kind of guidance in mentoring and coaching at any given time. Doesn't matter, even if you're mastering a skill, right? Even the master have a master that they follow. The coach have a coach, right? And the best athletes out there have several coaches. So yeah, if you have a mindset of a winner, it's how can I, not to find a shortcut, but find a path to learn from people who are, mastering that, so I can learn from them, right? So it's great. And you, at the beginning of this session, you mentioned that, numbers, my coach, and etc. So you recently start to get, coaching as well.
Yeah, drives me
Right.
crazy. Yeah, because I got to be held accountable now, and I've been reluctant to do it for years, and honestly, it helped me a lot even through this pandemic. The last 90 days, my coach has been with me, and I think there's just something built inside of us just to be in this business where you have to be self-driven. This is not a passive business. So yes, I have a coach and he's great, and I think it's working well, and it makes me accountable, and he's showing me other things too. But if you are new or trying to get into a sphere business model, get somebody that's good at it. Get somebody that is doing better than you if you want advice. You should go to people that are doing better than you for advice. Kind of, like, what I'm saying, you want somebody that's doing it better than you're doing it. That's why I want you to show me how to do it.
Yeah.
And if you're new, that's probably everybody that's been in the business already. And yeah, ask around, find your angle, be patient. It takes a long time. The average is 5 or 7 years, I think, people buy and sell a home. It takes a long time. Oh, and one more thing. Don't sell a home that's too big. Sell just the right size so that they can sell again with you in 2-3 years. Just saying. Don't go sell 5,000 square feet, Yana. Sell them 2,000 square feet. So you can do 7 deals with you in the next 5 years.
Thank you. That's good advice.
Something I'm noticing
Things
is
that are tip.
working out for me right now.
That's strong, David. That's strong. I was going to circle back on that idea of looking back. I would say one thing I would do differently is that, just even out of, for first jobs or college, things like that, I would have gotten a coach a lot sooner. I mean, it's amazing how we, in life, if you've ever played sports, you have this coach your whole life. And then when you stop playing sports, the idea of a coach is not generally, it's just not generally something you do. And
Right.
what an absence it is to not have a coach, life coach, professional coach, whatever. And I know it costs money, but it's like a game plan people should have. Like, okay, I need a coach. Or I remember seeing Tiger Woods go through his caddies, right, and his swing coaches, and always wondering, well, you found a good one. Why did you let him go? Because he graduated to the next level. He wanted somebody else that brought him more value, and so over time you would have different coaches. And I think that's something we all should look into. I mean, I know that I've got a coach now, and it's made a big difference.
Thanks for that insight, for sure. Yeah, good stuff, guys. Anything else before we'll let you go? Do you guys want to add?
Be great at, pursue what you're good at. Don't try to be great at everything. Maybe it's not a sphere thing or whatever it may be. Hire the people to do the things you're not good at, and just focus on what you're good at and enjoy the ride. It'll change you, this industry. I mean, I guess I'm speaking to an audience of like new people, for example, but I think I said enough on this hour block. But it's you got to enjoy what you're doing. So if your sphere is your calling, then go to somebody that can help you nurture that. That's what I would suggest.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'd say reach out to me anytime you have a question. I'd be happy to take your phone call.
Thanks, Jason. Great. Okay, guys. Yana, did you say something?
Yeah,
Sorry.
thank you. Thank you for having me. That was fun.
Yeah, appreciate that. And thanks for jumping on the call, even though you were out in the field. And hopefully we're gonna, we have to do this again, Yana, because we have to get you on the camera, right?
Well, I got to figure out why this thing is not working.
Next one. But once again, guys, thank you so much for your time. Yana Galuz, Calabasas, David Abbas, Calabasas, and Jason DuFault, Coastal Properties, Long Beach. Guys, thank you so much. Appreciate the insight, and keep doing an amazing job out there, and keep with the sharing mentality. I appreciate that. Everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a
Thank
good
you,
day,
everybody.
guys.
Good talking to you all.
And thanks everybody watching us on live. So take care and be well. Bye everybody. Thanks
Bye-bye.
again.